Hello friends and welcome. Patch 7.34c came out last night. I have played a few games, looked at the data coming out, so I am here to share with you some patch analysis highlights, which is that if you didn't watch this video or even know a patch came out, it wouldn't be that different. There's a couple heroes who got hit a little bit hard, but for the most part it's a smaller buff and nerfs to the best and worst heroes, whatever order I just had that in. So nothing crazy changing here about the meta, but maybe a couple heroes we do want to keep our eyes on. Solar Crest is the only item that got changed, and it's not a huge deal. It's 3% movement speed on the active. It is a nerf, but if it looks like a good Solar Crest game, it is still going to be a good Solar Crest game. There's only a couple neutral item changes. The Arcane Ring and Spark of Courage, I think you can, pretty much ignore those changes. They are very minor nerfs. The Occult Bracelet is losing 5 seconds of duration off the mana regen, so technically you can still get a similar amount of mana regen, but you're going to need to be hit more frequently. So for core heroes, maybe not a huge deal, but for supports, a little bit more annoying. It's still a really good item for the stats and the magic resistance and the mana it gives, and it still gives it, but just less now. Vambrace, it keeps getting nerfed, and I think it's actually it's reaching a point where it's not going to be the best. I think currently its best use is for strength and agility heroes. It's a survivability item when you need 8 strength and a bit of magic resistance. But if you already had the Occult Bracelet, I mean, it's not even that big of an upgrade. I mean, it's somewhat of an upgrade, I guess, tier 1 to tier 2, but I don't know. This item keeps getting nerfed, so I think we're reaching the point where people aren't going to want to take it, and they're going to prefer other items. For the hero changes, Abaddon at the start, a series of small buffs, and he keeps getting small buffs, so I think he's getting to the point where he's perfectly fine in pubs, but I don't know how good that is quite yet. I need to play him. We might see more Arc Warden because Tempest double. The clone is now always going to spawn with full health and mana, and that sounds like it could be pretty good, but I'm not really an Arc Warden player, so I don't know how big of an effect this is, but it seems like the clone can now be spawned, and you can just spam out all your spells, your items, send him into fight, and he always has the resources for that. Series of small buffs for Axe. Bane, I think, has a big one, so base damage by 2 is nice. The Enfeeble mana cost is the big one here. 120 is the starting mana, and it used to go up to 165, and this is a 7-second spell when it's maxed out, but now it's only going to be 120 mana at all levels. That essentially means that previously you could cast this 3 times, now you can cast it 4 times, or you could cast some of your other spells, because Bane has some very high cost spells that are all relatively low cooldown, so it can be kind of tough for him throughout the fight. But Enfeeble, now losing that mana, is pretty good for him. And I don't know if you guys have experienced Bane Enfeeble builds, but it is super annoying. So it's definitely something I'm going to try. I haven't done it yet, but I tried it before he got this buff, and it felt like there was room to work there for a pretty strong support build. We even saw some, mid Bane for a little bit. And this might encourage that even more. We got nerfs to Beastmaster. The mana cost is the big thing here for Call of the Wild. It's not going to be so easy to spam out all his spells. Bounty Hunter getting a couple different buffs here. We might see more 4 bounty, damage on Shuriken Toss up by 30 at the max level, which is nice because it bounces around to all your different track targets. And then Shadow Walk losing 10 mana will make it easier depending on your skill build. Sometimes you're a little low on mana, especially if you were having a lot of successful ganks. You just gotta use all my spells, get all these kills, but now I'm out of mana. So it should be a little easier for that now. And then the 15 talent I think will be pretty tough now. 30 damage reduction while in Shadow Walk is really good. And then the other talent is half track bonus speed to allies, which is also pretty good. So I'm not sure, but don't forget this 30 damage reduction works on your allies when you use your shard on them. So I think that could be pretty good. That could be a saving tool you have, but it is at level 15, which sometimes the game's a little bit decided at that point as a support, but it could be good. I'll try it and let you guys know. I like Bounty Hunter. Brewmaster, minor nerfs. Bristleback, minor buffs in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. It sounds good, but his win rate barely shifted, so I don't think it's quite enough. The Spiderling's getting buffed on Broodmother, but I don't think it's really what she builds for. The Spiderlings are still pretty easy to kill past a certain point in the game, so I'm not sure if them attacking a little faster is going to be massive to her, but I mean, it's good, so I guess we'll take that. Centaur Warrunner, I think he's a hero you're going to see a lot more. He's getting 10 movement speed. I think base movement speed is something that determines how broken a hero might be, and he just got 10 of it for free. Stampede, 10 seconds lower. Workhorse, 6 seconds less, but I don't know how good Workhorse is. But he already had some buffs in the last patch with his His Stomp, now you can kind of move to make it easier to land. So he's been getting a lot of buffs, and I think we're going to start seeing him a lot more as an offlaner. Klink's got a variety of buffs. If you're still playing Klink support, I think maxing Strafe second at latest is definitely the build to go. I don't know the perfect build. I haven't been playing it this patch, but if you've been playing it, then here you go. You got some small buffs here. Crystal Maiden, base armor, base intelligence, let's go. This is pretty solid for her. These are two stats that she really struggles with, being squishy and then not having enough of a mana pool to use her spells at the start of the game. So these are very nice. A pretty minor nerf to Darkseer here, and then Dawnbreaker. So she gave her 10 movement speed to Centaur, so she is losing the movement speed and she is losing 2 base strength. So that's pretty painful for her, but she was an S tier hero. So I don't think she's down in the dumpster or anything off of this. I think she is still, you know, A to B range at worst, maybe still an S tier hero. So don't feel too upset if you're a Dawnbreaker main. You can still play her. Another patch where Dazzle is getting a buff, a bit more intelligence, health cost being a flat 75 at all levels for bad juju should make it a little easier. And then an attack speed talent, maybe some core Dazzle, I don't know, maybe some support Dazzle build out there where you're building some right click. Oh, I don't know about that, guys, but if you like Dazzle, it seems like he's getting better. I have to test him out, and I'll let you know. Believe it or not, Doom is getting nerfed again, and I know many of you think he's already a dead hero after the last patch changed Doom, but the pros are still playing him because he's very unique to what he offers through Devour and through Doom, even though it got changed. So I guess it's just hard to balance. They think he needs more nerfs. It's going to make Pub Doom sad, but it's probably a little necessary to pro Dota, but I also think maybe not, but it happened. Here it is. Earth Spirit, he's very good. Some nerfs here, but I actually think it's mostly fine, but I'm not that much of an Earth Spirit player, but I feel that this is just reasonable. Another S tier hero who got a lot stronger with his role being uninterruptible, and that is still in the game. So these nerfs are just going to tone him down a little bit, but I think he is still very strong. Earthshaker, also very, very strong. You were seeing him as a core and support, and I think they're trying to push you away from core. They're like, stop doing that. It's not so funny anymore after you just crit someone for 1,000 damage. It's a little funny, okay, but stop doing that. I think you still can do it. It's just going to be a bit worse. But support Earthshaker, I think, should be fine. This mana cost is a bit annoying for him, but you don't spam Enchant Totem as support Earthshaker nearly as much as core Earthshaker, so I don't think it's as big of a deal. And the 15 and 20 talent, they changed spots. So now the Fissure Range talent is at level 15, and that is more useful to support Earthshaker, in my opinion, than core Earthshaker, so I think that part might actually be nice for him. Ember is another hero whose pub win rate is not so great, but I think he was still seeing a decent amount of play in the pro scene, so he's getting some nerfs here. Gyrocopter is probably the biggest loser of the patch because he just got hit across the board with nerfs. Some big ones here. Homing Missile lost 0.25 seconds of stun at level 1, so that kills off some of his early aggression potential. And then Flat Cannon cooldown went up a lot at level 1, and at max level it is 2 seconds longer than it used to be. Along with that, many of the talents that benefited Flat Cannon got either changed around or nerfed, if not both. And so Gyrocopter as a carry, like in pubs, he's probably still fine. If you want to play him, he's worse. You could get away with it, as you could always have in pub games. You can do whatever. But the pro scene, Gyro has always seemed like a hero that, depending how good Flat Cannon is, determines how good Gyrocopter carry is. And so he tends to bounce between, he's super broken, everyone pick him, and it's like, Flat Cannon sucks, he's not worth playing. So it's rare to see just this middle ground Gyrocopter. So these nerfs hurt. I'm not a pro. I can't tell you if they're just going to stop playing him completely or if they'll still play him a little bit with just the right pairings. But this definitely hurts. He's lost the most win rate in pubs from the data so far after this first day. I think like almost 5%. Some Hoodwink buffs should help her become more relevant. She's been on the side for quite a while, but maybe as some of these other meta heroes are dropping, she'll rise back in. Invoker was very popular, and he is being nerfed. I think if you like Invoker support, if you haven't tried it yet, give it a go. I was working on a guide for it, trying to play him more, and now I got hit with a nerf. I think you can still do it. It's just going to be worse than what it used to be. If you want to play him, I think it'll be fine. But if you're only interested in like the top meta, then it might be other heroes. Speaking of top meta heroes, I think Jakiro is looking great. So mana cost used to be 140 level 1, and that was a pain. It was pretty expensive. You didn't have the best mana pool, mana regen. You could cast it a couple times, but then you were kind of out. it is now going down to 125 at the earliest level, and it eventually reaches the same 170 at max, but this should make his early laning stage better, combined with the fact that liquid fire damage is going up. So from 15, 25, 35, 45, just 5 flat at every level, so 20 at the start, 50 at max level. I don't know if you guys remember this. Liquid fire used to do 12 burning damage and then scale up to 24 burning damage over the course of 5 seconds. So we are now at 20 to 50. And there is now a penalty to damage against the buildings, but against heroes, this is so much more than it used to be. So I've tried it a little bit, some like QE kind of build to see how much damage output we can get, how powerful it feels. It's nice. I miss Ice Path though sometimes, so I'll let you guys know. I will test it more, but it definitely seems strong. Like even if you're not changing your build up, it's just a straight up buff. It's just more damage. So I think Jakiro is looking really good as a 5 right now, and probably playable as a 4, and maybe an offlaner who makes use of liquid fire. Ooh, we'll see. Some relatively small nerfs to Legion Commander and Lion, very popular pub heroes. Very unpopular pub hero, Lone Druid. Pretty big buff to the armor department here. Should make him harder to kill at the start of the game. That armor is also shared with the Bear, which he's also getting buffed a bit with his attack speed here. So Lone Druid looking pretty happy. If 5 of you Lone Druid players want to spam him in your pubs. Magnus, small buff here. Meepo, small buff. Muerta, some changes to different abilities, all buffs. Deadshot, kind of curious about support Muerta, but I think it probably won't be that popular, just something you can do. But the spell damage is getting there. Q and W are very strong abilities. Very long cast range once you have that talent, but it is at 15. So probably play her as a core rather than as support, but after I get bored trying out the top meta heroes, maybe we'll give her a shot, and I'll let you guys know how good it feels. Any of you guys like getting Naga'd? Well, you'll get Naga'd slightly less, unfortunately, but you'll still get Naga'd because I don't think these are that bad in terms of nerfs. So just a little worse, still playable. Nature's Prophet, very, very popular hero from the last patch. Probably one of the best, I think. S tier in multiple roles, 6 base agility off. So that's 1 armor, 6 attack speed. Painful for him. Sprout, you can also now heal again. So you're no longer forced into buying the Quelling Blade, but you could wait till someone tangos because they just need to, and then sprout them. And if they don't have a Quelling Blade, that means they're going to be forced to tango again, which they'll get healing, but it's inefficient because it overlaps with the last tango they ate. So you can still force annoying stuff from the enemy and maybe still force them to buy a Quelling Blade, and it does damage, which it didn't do before. So I think Nature's Prophet will still be fine. He is not, literally, we must pick this hero. I think he's going to go down a little bit from there, but I kind of think he's still in that S to A tier range. I haven't gotten to play him because he keeps getting banned, even in this new patch. So I can't confirm that yet, but it doesn't look like his win rate dropped all that much. So I think it's B tier at worst, if not, the S to A. Okay, double checking. I guess it did drop a little bit more, like 1.78% right now, which is sizable, but he's currently still sitting at 51.5 win rate. And he's a hard hero, very easy to accidentally grief with. So I think his pub win rate is always lower than his true potential. So I still think he's a great hero. Necrophos Enjoyers Rejoice, base armor up by 1. Let's go. That's very valuable on a hero who has a lot of regen. It makes all of your health and your health regen just that much more valuable. So great for him. The talent change is nice, not the biggest deal in the world. Nyx Assassin, looking good. Lots of little buffs here, should help him out, and I saw his win rate go up, so he's looking like a promising 4 to keep an eye on. A couple buffs to Ogre Magi. I think the biggest one here is this base health regen, which I have noticed is pretty sad since he lost it, so that should help him, but I don't know how much, because it really did feel like he's in a bad spot, and I don't know if this is quite enough to bring him up to the top tiers of supports, but it's at least a step in the right direction. I said it last time, but Repel, as it reaches a lower and lower cooldown, we are reaching dangerous levels of broken. And it used to go from 60 seconds cooldown down to 45-second cooldown, I think. It now starts at 45 seconds and goes down to 30 seconds. So a 30-second BKB for your cores. This thing lasts how long? 6 seconds? I think it's looking good, especially because Hammer of Purity lost 10 mana cost at the start. It's actually higher mana once you finish maxing it out, but Support Omni typically just takes 1 point to harass in the lane, and now it's a lot easier to use. It's a 25% decrease for him, so this is looking pretty good. I have to try him. I haven't seen him yet. I don't know how good it's going to be, but this looks like it could pair really well with certain carries. Some nerfs to Pango can't seem to get him out of the meta, so more nerfs. Phoenix, some attack slow nerfs here. It should make a difference in a couple cases, especially when you're attacking so slow that Phoenix moves too far and then the attack just never happens. So you'll still attack slow. You won't want to fight into Phoenix when it's going, but you might actually launch the attack before Phoenix leaves the range a couple more times, and maybe that's the final blow you needed. So it is a nerf, but it shouldn't be too big of a deal. You do tend to max this first, and once it's maxed, it is the same as it used to be. Minor nerfs to Primal Beast, some buffs to Pugna. I'm not sure how good this is, to be honest. Maybe you Pugna spammers let me know, but it's definitely good for the hero. I think we'll see him a little bit more, but it doesn't seem as strong as, the previous time when he was super meta. It doesn't seem as strong as that point, but I guess we'll have to see. Ricky, he was pretty good. I mean, Ricky's always a pub classic, and it was a little overtuned, so they're going to nerf some of his extra damage from the agility on his ultimate, and then Tricks of the Trade is actually going to be a little stronger at the early levels, but is the same by the time you max it out. Fade Bolt for Rubik, sad. So it used to be 14% damage reduction, now only 5, but it's fair. Rubik didn't have a weak spot, it felt like a pretty good laner, especially with this Fade Bolt. You could secure creeps, trade with the enemy, and then right-click trade because they were affected by damage reduction. You scaled well with the spells. So I was like, what was he bad at? I don't know. So nerfing his laning stage is pretty reasonable, and it's not even the end of the world. By the time you hit level 2 on Fade Bolt, we are approaching similar points to last time. Once it's maxed out, is the same. So you're just going to have to be a little bit more careful with your right-click trades as Rubik when they can hit you back, because Fade Bolt is not going to be nearly as impactful as it used to be. I think we'll see more Sand King, at least in pubs, base armor buff, some cast range buff on Burrow Strike, and the Aghanims is very, very annoying. I am surprised I don't see it more. I'm going to start playing it a little bit myself. It's very annoying to play in the bouncy house, and these buffs will help him get to that point. A buff to Shadow Shaman in particular, his ultimate is 20 seconds lower at level 1. That seems pretty good. I think this will be very nice for pub games where you got teammates who just, they always jungle, right? Pick Shadow Shaman, push things yourself. Now the ultimate, even easier to use at early levels. And it might be, I still think probably the first couple ults best for towers, but if you use it for kills, it may not be such a big deal anymore, because, I mean, it's just, 20 seconds less, so I could kill another hero in 110 seconds. A small nerf to Skyrath, and what I thought was just a minor buff to Sniper, but his win rate went up by over 1%, which it's just day one. I mean, I wouldn't read too far into that, but maybe that's better for him than I realized. I guess when you activate this, you double it. So before it was 200, now it's like 260 at level 1. I mean, that is kind of nice. But he does seem to be doing pretty well if you like Sniper. We got some buffs to Spiritbreaker to bring him back. I don't think he was totally gone after the last nerfs, but it was definitely sad compared to where he used to be when he was an S-tier hero, and this should help him get back in there. Sven, some nerfs to him. He was very popular in this recent patch, so some nerfs to his stun at the early levels, but it's the same by the end. And then God Strength. This slow resistance is what got added on and part of what made him so good. So he still has it. It's 30%, but it's not going to scale up to 40%. And I think that's fair. A little longer on the ult, 5 more seconds. That will also matter in certain situations, but it's also not the end of the world, just 5 more seconds. Terrorblade's win rate in pubs is sad, but in the pro scene, he's still good, so he got some nerfs. Trian got some nerfs, which I thought looked kind of painful, but his win rate didn't drop as much as I thought, so I think he's still okay, still that S to A tier. Same with Undying. The Tombstone vision is getting brought down from 1500 to 1200, so that'll make it harder to just insta-win team fights by putting it on a cliff, something like that. You get vision superiority. You still get a good amount of vision from it, just not nearly as much as you used to. I think it used to be 1800 as well. So you're definitely less than where it was, but in terms of just screwing over strength melee offlaners, I think he's still number 1, so he still has his place. Ventral Spirit, another big winner. Actually, we got several in a row here from the last patch. A lot of little nerfs here, but I don't think it's that big of a deal, because what made her really good and brought her all the way to the front is that Wave of Terror now does total damage reduction, and Magic Missile's cooldown got buffed. Or sorry, the stun duration got buffed, and those didn't change. So it got nerfed in other regards, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. So all you Venge spammers, keep spamming it. It's good. Then we got Warlock. The big change here is that Fatal Bond's duration is down by 6 seconds at level 1. So you're going to have to do a little bit more work to hit all the creeps, get them killed off, spawn your imps to damage the enemy, whereas before 25 seconds was long enough that even if you didn't do anything, the creeps would just kill themselves. So it's going to be a little harder to get full value out of it in the early laning stage, but I don't think it's too bad, especially if you're maxing Fatal Bonds following that build possible that I talked about before. I think he's still good as well. Weaver, swarm damage, getting buffed, but I'm not sure how big of a deal that is, so I don't know if that's really going to bring him all the way back. I could be wrong. Wind Ranger, some small buffs to her. Winter Wyvern, I'm going to keep my eye on. So a lot of nice things here. Base armor up by 1, base regen from 0 to 0.25. Very few heroes have bonus base regen, so she's now one of them. And then Arctic Burn's cooldown at level 1, 38 seconds down to 26 seconds. That is a lot. I think it could be good, but she was in a really bad spot for quite a while. I don't know if it's enough because I don't play her that much, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to try getting... I don't know how many points in Arctic Burn, because your other, especially W, is pretty good to max. But this cooldown going down is a lot. Before, you could only use it once, every creep wave or two. But you could use this every creep wave, and it does % damage. It is based on current health, so it's not as powerful as max health. But it's good. It's good harass. I don't know if you guys ever got harassed by Winter Wyvern because she hasn't been popular lately. But it's pretty annoying, and it's such... a big decrease in the cooldown. So it seems like it could be good to me with all this. Maybe Core Wyvern, I don't know. But I keep an eye on her. Witch Doctor, terrorizing pubs. He's going to keep doing it. This nerf is not a big deal. When it was physical damage, this is still better than what it was back then. And he's already wrecking havoc at level 6. It's only 20 damage at max level. So you can still put yourself in a very good spot to win the game early, especially because you're a cask. The cast point actually got decreased. So it's actually easier to use your stun now than it used to be, and your ult is just a little bit worse in the late game, which of course is a nerf and will matter in certain situations, especially once you got Ags. It felt like free team fight wins when you just Ags, pure damage, bounce around everywhere. That's a little bit worse, but it's still pretty good because it's still pure damage now. So I think he's fine if you want to keep playing him. Zeus, mini stun going from 0.25 up to 0.35. Oh, the comeback of Zeus support maybe. As a core, I mean, that's just going to be nice for him. Thunder God's Wrath, also some buffs here. Maybe a support. We'll see. Thank you for watching. That's all I've got for you. Jakiro, for now, will be my #1 support. If you want to give him a go, I will let you all know who else I think is good. Once the patch settles, we'll do a tier list, all that stuff. So keep an eye out for that, and I'll see you over there. Bye.